On February 4th, 2013, 6 minutes after the stock market opened in Tokyo, many well-known stocks, including SoftBank, hadn't been traded yet. SoftBank's offer price dropped by 5% and kept falling, but nobody was willing to buy it. After some time, a purchase order was completed. 300,000 shares were bought at 6,714 yen per share, totaling just over 2 billion yen, which is almost $21 million. This triggered more buyers to join in, creating momentum, and by the end of the day, the stock became one of the only 2 gainers in the Nikkei 225 stock average. The person who made the market activity for SoftBank on that winter morning was sitting in pajamas in a bedroom filled with comic books. He leaned into the bright light of 4 computer screens while munching on a carrot, perhaps to soothe his stomach. Investing in stock rebounds was risky, but observing SoftBank's 20% value decline over 9 days, coupled with a further drop in U.S. markets overnight, convinced him that the chances of a bounce were increasing. Assessing the situation, he made the decision to act, rapidly placing orders to execute his strategy. An hour and a half later, he sold his holdings, making a profit of 140.6 million yen, $1.46 million. I do my best work when other people are panicking, he said, about an hour after winding up the biggest trade of a long career betting on stocks. Without pausing, the former video game champion and pachinko gambler known as CIS swiftly moved on to the next trade. The 35-year-old day trader claimed to have earned 6 billion yen, almost $63 million after taxes, by betting on Japanese stocks that day. Over the course of a decade dedicated to day trading, starting practically from the ground up, CIS claims to have accumulated a fortune surpassing 16 billion yen, $167 million. Along the way, he has gained a cult following among Japanese day traders, a close-knit community of self-taught experts who pride themselves on navigating one of the world's toughest markets. CIS in that era became a subject of considerable discussion and speculation, even prompting the creation of a Wikipedia page to document his investment outcomes. He presented several statements from one of his numerous brokerage accounts for the year 2014, along with his tax return for 2013. These brokerage statements indicated liquid assets ranging from 4.4 billion yen to 4.8 billion yen. His tax return revealed that he traded Japanese equities worth 1.7 trillion yen in 2013, approximately 0.5% of the total value of individual share transactions on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. On his most active day, he claims to have bought and sold stocks totaling 70 billion yen, over $700 million. That's the end of my epic rebound trade. His profit, he said, had almost tripled. CIS discovered he had a talent for winning games. At 15, he says, he could earn 400,000 yen a month gambling. One secret was identifying the machines most likely to give bigger payouts. Another was being able to endure 13 hours at a time in smoke-filled and deafeningly loud pachinko parlors. He had to play thousands of consecutive games to take advantage of the odds. You need to find an edge and exploit that edge and do it over and over again. If you're a day trader or a swing trader, then you know that you have to do a lot of trades to make a difference in your account for the year. CIS, pronounced CIS, means death in classical Japanese. The nickname is a holdover from his gaming days when he used to crush foes in virtual wrestling rings and online fantasy worlds. Games taught me to think fast and stay calm, he said over tea at Tokyo's Hotel Grand Palace a few days after the SoftBank trade. Rail thin, with a shaggy mop of hair, he showed up in a gray sweater, jeans, and sneakers. No one would have taken him for a multi-millionaire. CIS wants people to know what he's accomplished. He just doesn't want them to know who he is. Even after 6 sit-down interviews over many months, CIS asked not to be named for this story. Married with 3 kids, he says he's worried about being targeted for robbery or extortion. He said being a Japanese day trader in 2013 proved to be highly lucrative. Thanks to Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's efforts, the Bank of Japan injected cash into the market through an asset-buying program. Additionally, a loosening of borrowing limits enabled traders using margin to quickly roll over loans upon exiting a position. Now, the combination of these 2 factors created a powerful and favorable environment for day trading. In 2013, the benchmark Nikkei 225 experienced a big surge, increasing by over half, marking the most substantial gain in 4 decades. The Mothers Index, consisting of small-cap stocks and popular among retail investors, saw an astonishing rise of 137%. The Tokyo Stock Exchange reported that the volume of shares traded by individual investors more than doubled during this period. It wasn't because more people were pumping retirement money into the market, though Abe's policies were meant to encourage that. It was super active day traders, says Akira Warita, managing director at Matsui Securities. 1% of the online brokerage's clients accounted for 70% of its turnover during the last 3 months of 2013. The 397 people who made 50 or more trades a day were responsible for more than half of the brokerage's margin transactions. The most leveraged trader used a cash deposit of 20 million yen to buy and sell 4 billion yen worth of equities in a single day. The truth is, Japanese day traders have gotten so big, the market can no longer ignore them or the huge price swings they amplify, says David Baran, co-chief executive officer of Symphony Financial Partners, a 455 million Tokyo hedge fund firm. I've been trading Japanese stocks for almost 30 years, and I've been through periods of extreme volatility, but I've never seen anything like what we've seen in 2013, Baran says. CIS's first big score came on December 8, 2005. Back in 2005, someone at Mizuho Securities made a big mistake. They wanted to sell one share of a small company called jcom for 610,000 yen, but they accidentally offered 610,000 shares for just 1 yen each. This was way more than the actual number of shares available. CIS, along with a few other traders, saw this had to be a mistake and quickly jumped in. CIS says he bought 3,300 shares, about a quarter of the total, at the very low price. That's how he made his first big win. When the confusion was cleared up, Mizuho Securities had lost its quarterly profit, and according to CIS, he was 600 million yen richer. Another day trader named Takashi Kotegawa, known as BNF, reportedly made over 2 billion yen. Even today, the jcom trade stands out as the best 10 minutes of CIS's professional life. However, he didn't take the time to celebrate. Instead, he swiftly moved his winnings into the video game company Nintendo. His logic was that the likely legal issues arising from the morning's events, it would be more challenging for anyone to take away his gains if they were invested rather than in cash. Additionally, he took a negative stance on brokerages by shorting them, anticipating that financial shares might face consequences due to the earlier mistake. Several fan blogs devoted to CIS sprang up after the jcom trade, one called CIS Mania. That site is no longer around, but in the summer of 2013, someone offered a Wikipedia page about CIS. It's complete with a bar chart purporting to show how his fortune snowballed, starting with 1 million yen, about $10,440 in 2000. The numbers are a little off, CIS says, but the basic idea is right. In the early days of his career, CIS gained recognition by engaging in trash talk on 2 Channel, Japan's most popular online bulletin board. He became infamous for lines like, "Even Goldman Sachs can't outtrade me," and "I'll casually flush some cheap wine that only set me back 800,000 yen. In 2011, CIS made a rare TV appearance on the popular variety show Warate Litomo, which translates to "It's okay to laugh." The show has since ended after a 32-year run. During the appearance, he wore a translucent box over his head and used a voice modulator to speak, preserving his anonymity. "Who are you?" the host asked. "I'm a man who made 10 billion yen day trading," CIS answered, and the crowd went wild. At the time, his fortune was just over 9 billion yen, CIS says, but producers told him to round up. To help support his claim, producers held up an enlarged statement from one of CIS's bank accounts, showing a balance of 1,269,223,316 yen. While the typical banker might not have recognized the figure on TV, day traders were well aware. "The guy's a star," remarks Naoki Murakami, a trader known as Murayan in the blogging world. Everyone read his 2 Channel posts. Some folks may not have appreciated them, but most understood he was joking. Known for documenting his trades openly online, not shying away from sharing both successes and failures, Murakami has gained a degree of celebrity himself. He is even compensated by brokerages like Matsui Securities to speak at investor conferences. He shares online chat room buddies with CIS, a common type of connection in Japan's day trader community, where everyone is interconnected through several layers of chat room relationships. Some traders are so close that they even go on vacations together. For instance, Murakami and 3 other traders went to witness Canada's Northern Lights a year ago, and the previous spring they chose Bali as their destination. In person, it's not easy to square CIS with the bravado of his online alter ego or his wealth. Pale from hours staring into computer monitors, he looks like the video game junkie he once was. Stress has given him chronic stomach pain and a dusting of gray at the temples. CIS's social circles consisted mainly of fellow traders, including individuals like Kenji Uemura, a former Sony engineer who authored a popular trading guide now in its 5th edition. Uemura, 39, sporting an Elvis-style hairdo and sideburns, claims to have accumulated 300 million yen over a decade of trading. Similar to CIS, he's not one for flashy displays of wealth. The type of person who squanders money on those things would never have reached this level, remarks Uemura, known among traders as Kimu. Self-control is so important. You have to conserve your assets. That's what insulates you from the downturns and gives you the ammunition to make money. Skipping class in high school to play pachinko, a hybrid of slots and pinball, as we know, CIS discovered he had a talent for winning games at a very young age. CIS shares that he barely managed to obtain his degree in mechanical engineering because he spent much of his college time immersed in the fantasy role-playing game Ultima Online. Confined to his bedroom, he dedicated days on end to exploring the game's virtual world, accumulating weapons, treasure, and food. He describes this period as an early lesson in the acquisition and safeguarding of assets. Wicked keyboard skills were a must. He mastered them all. He memorized over 100 keyboard shortcuts like Control-A to gulp a healing potion or Shift-S to draw a sword, and effortlessly navigated between them without glancing away from the screen. Some people can do it, some can't, he remarks with a shrug. However, the game imparted a more significant lesson, knowing when to make a strategic retreat. I was a pretty confident player, but just like in the real world, the more opponents you have, the worse your chances are, he says. You lose nothing by running. That's how he now plays the stock market. CIS says he bets wrong 4 out of 10 times. The trick is to sell the losers fast while letting the winners ride. For him, a well-played stop-loss is just about the most beautiful trade there is. That's why he believes a less attention-grabbing SoftBank trade than the one in February might turn out to be his most strategic move that year. On the first trading day of the year, he sold 4.5 billion yen worth of SoftBank shares. Although he incurred a 2.5% loss on that day, he exited the position with a 650 million yen profit. He had been building this position since mid-October. After his sale, SoftBank experienced an 18% decline in the following month. Later, regulatory filings revealed the reason. Capital Group, a massive U.S. fund trader, had been unloading the shares. Stocks entered the picture for CIS when he was in his early 20s and working as a designer of industrial shock absorbers at a small manufacturer. He began by betting on what he thought were undervalued companies, and he lost money. He found success after a friend gave him a piece of advice: forget the fundamentals. CIS doesn't subscribe to the Nikkei or any other newspaper, nor does he scrutinize earnings reports or parse central bank statements or spend much time looking at moving averages or other price chart patterns normally associated with technical trading. Instead, he keeps his ears open in the chat rooms and his eyes glued to bid-ask screens, on which he monitors the market's appetite for its 300 most heavily traded stocks. If there's one basic principle, he says, repeatedly and slowly, as if instructing a child, it is this: buy stocks that are being bought and sell stocks that are being sold. This has deeper implications than it may seem, said Hirsch Sheffrin, a professor of behavioral finance at Santa Clara University in California and the author of Beyond Greed and Fear, a 2007 book that explores the role of psychology in investing. Sheffrin argues that the human mind is inherently inclined to bet on reversals, highlighting the psychological aspects that influence investment decisions. It's a phenomenon called the gambler's fallacy. At a craps table, for example, players tend to shift their bets toward numbers that haven't come up, even though the odds don't change with each roll of the dice. In the same way, even the savviest investor has a built-in bias for buying when stocks fall and selling when they go up. Like all day traders, he liked to capitalize on momentum. If you can get yourself out of that mindset and bet against the crowd who act instinctively, then you have an opportunity to make money. After 2 years of mastering the art of riding momentum, CIS claims to have made 80 million yen by day trading discreetly while holding a regular job. In late 2003, he decided to leave the traditional office life behind and transition to working in the market full-time. Since then, there have been more than 1 million trades, CIS estimates. Early on, he held most positions for just seconds at a time, making hundreds of moves each day. Now that he has more money, there's no choice but to hold positions longer, because shifting such large sums in and out of the market influences prices. In early July 2014, as a slow trading day was winding down, CIS sent an email containing a screenshot of his brokerage account at SBI Holdings. The snapshot resembled others he had shared in person throughout the year. On that day, unrealized gains were in the red, 200 million yen. His portfolio included 254,000 shares of Toyota, 4.2 million shares of Nomura Holdings, and 6 million shares of Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, among a dozen other positions. The total portfolio amounted to 13.2 billion yen, financed with 4.4 billion yen in cash. He anticipated that entire portfolio would likely be sold off within the next few days. One thing CIS wouldn't sell was a 100-share stake in Yoshinoya Holdings, operator of a fast food chain beloved by cash-strapped college kids. It's a little keepsake, he explained as he quickly walked to a mahjong parlor in the Roppongi nightlife district, where he has a regular 3 p.m. game with trader buddies. When CIS wasn't betting on stocks, he was gaming elsewhere. He played low-stakes mahjong most afternoons after the market closed and is ranked in the top 99.94 percentile of 3 million players on a site called Tenhu, where he played under the name CIS. When he's not playing mahjong, CIS is often engaged in poker or blackjack, both online and occasionally in person. He mentions being barred from South Korea's Walker Hills Casino in 2011 for card counting during his visits. Most of CIS's wealth is in stocks and cash. He also holds corporate bonds and gold, he says, and has stakes in 3 small businesses. Tax records show he owns 2 apartment buildings, the larger of which, a modernist cube in central Tokyo with a French bar on the ground floor, could easily be worth the 700 million yen CIS says he paid for it, according to an estimate from Tokyo real estate consultant Mount Partners. Many of the day traders in CIS's circle can be considered wealthy, especially after the bull market of 2013. But CIS is on a different level. How he managed to build a fortune of such size is a subject of much speculation among his peers and the world. It could be an ability to spot weaknesses in trading algorithms used by the big banks, Murakami says. Or maybe it's the simple fact that he doesn't get rattled, says Masahiro Kawata, a trader who plays mahjong with CIS. Kawata designed the trading interface that most serious Japanese day traders use to shave valuable seconds off the order process. It's called T++ Speedy Stock Order Tool. Kawata says his friend can think like a machine. Then there's his single-mindedness. CIS doesn't seem to regard trading or amassing money as a means to anything. Trading is the point. Winning is the point. It's not a sentiment CIS shares. According to him, if you just consider compound interest, it should be pretty easy. Only a handful of his peers know his real name, and no one has watched him work. CIS didn't offer a complete accounting of his investing returns and his wealth for this story, and some of his claims can't be verified. For all you aspiring money managers whose interest is not just gathering assets, but to outperform the market, then realize that the more money you trade, the harder it will be. Having too much money to trade is one of the biggest hindrances to a money manager's performance. This is a great inspiring story, it really is, especially when all you hear nowadays is all the reasons why it can't be done. It can be done, but not by 99% of the people out there. Your biggest obstacle in trading is you, and many can't get over that hump.